You've played it, carefully pulling wooden blocks from a wobbling tower, praying it doesn't fall. It's called Jenga, Swahili for to build. But here's what the box doesn't tell you. Jenga isn't a Western invention. It's an African game that children played for generations before anyone thought to patent it. This is the story of how a traditional East African game became a multi-million-dollar brand and how the original creators were erased from the story. For generations, children across East Africa, Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, played a simple game with wooden blocks. Local carpenters would cut off cards from their workshops, rough pieces of wood, imperfect but perfectly functional. Children would take these blocks and stack them into towers. The rules were simple. Pull out a block from the middle or bottom, place it on top. Don't let the tower fall. The last person to successfully move a block wins. It wasn't fancy. It had no brand name. It was just what children did after school, on weekends, in village squares. It taught patience, strategy, steady hands, engineering principles without calling them that. And it was free. It was theirs. It was African. In the 1970s, a British girl named Leslie Scott was living in Ghana. Her family had moved there, and like many expatriate children, she played with local Ghanaian kids. That's where she first saw the game. African children stacking blocks, laughing when towers fell, strategizing about which block to pull next.
Your turn.
Leslie joined in. She learned the game the way any child would, by watching, by playing, by losing a few times. A Ghanaian craftsman even made a special set of blocks for her family. Hand cut, carefully measured, a gift, or perhaps purchased for a small amount. The craftsman's name, not recorded. His face, not photographed. His contribution, about to disappear from history. But the game stayed with Leslie. Years later, she would return to it. Now here's where people get confused about Jenga's origin. The game Leslie learned in Ghana wasn't invented in Ghana. Ghanaian children were playing a game that had spread across East Africa, originating in Tanzania and Kenya, where it was most deeply rooted in the culture. The Swahili word Jenga itself is Tanzanian. The game's heartland was always East Africa. But Leslie's personal connection to the game came from Ghana, where she lived as a child. She experienced it there. A Ghanaian craftsman made her set. This is important. The game is East African. Leslie's introduction to it was Ghanaian. Both facts are true. Both communities deserve acknowledgement. What happened next erased them both. By the early 1980s, Leslie Scott had moved back to Britain. She was an adult now, running a toy company, and she remembered that game from her childhood, the African block stacking game.
This reminds me of the wood stacking game in Ghana when I played it as a child.
In 1983, she launched it commercially. She called it Jenga, using the Swahili word to give it that exotic appeal. The packaging had an African-sounding name, but the branding was thoroughly Western. She trademarked the name. She patented the design specifications, the exact dimension of the blocks, the ratio of length to width, the number of blocks per set. Things that African children had figured out through trial and error over generations were now legally owned by a British woman. In 1987, she sold Jenga to Parker Brothers, later Hasbro, for what reports suggest was a substantial amount. The game exploded globally. Today, Jenga has sold over 80 million units. It's in homes across the world. It generates millions in annual revenue. The African children who invented it, unnamed, unpaid, unacknowledged on the packaging. To be clear, Leslie Scott has never hidden the fact that she learned Jenga in Africa. In interviews, she mentions Ghana. She acknowledges the game existed before she commercialized it. But here's the problem with how the story gets told. The Jenga box says created by Leslie Scott, not commercialized by, not adapted from African tradition, created. Most people who buy Jenga have no idea it's African. They assume it's just another Western board game like Monopoly or Scrabble. The African origins are mentioned, if at all, as a fun footnote, as background trivia, as inspiration. But the truth is, Leslie Scott didn't invent Jenga. She branded it, she marketed it, she patented something that already existed. And in doing so, she did what colonialism has always done: take African knowledge, claim ownership, profit from it, and reduce the original creators to nameless inspiration. Jenga isn't unique. This pattern repeats constantly. African, indigenous knowledge exists for generations. A Westerner discovers it, they patent or trademark it, they profit enormously, the originators get a footnote if they are lucky. Shea butter from West Africa, now in luxury cosmetics. African women who have used it for centuries see none of the profit. Rooibos tea from South Africa. Indigenous Khoisan people developed it, but a corporation owns the trademark. Yoga from India. Quinoa from Peru. Traditional medicines from indigenous communities worldwide. The Global South creates, the Global North extracts. Patents, profits. The world forgets who made it first. And we are told this is globalization, cultural exchange, innovation. But there's a word for taking someone else's creation, putting your name on it, and selling it back to the world. Theft. So the next time you play Jenga, and you should, it's a genuinely great game, just remember, before it had a trademark, it was played freely across East Africa. Before it had a patent, African children had already perfected the design. Before it made millions, it belongs to communities who never saw a cent. The blocks you are stacking, they are built on an African foundation. The least we can do is remember whose hands built it first. And now you know their story.